afternoon, everyone. Not sure where you all joining from, but thank you for doing so. In fact, I should be looking at your chat, but do tell us where you're joining from. And we are here for one of our fantastic Lunch and Learn. And today we have Elisa Spampinato from Traveler Storyteller, CEO and founder, who is going to talk to us about using storytelling in travel marketing. I don't want to say anything else except to thank you, Elisa, and enjoy everyone. And once again, tell your friends about our Lunch and Learn and look at all the other events coming up. There's some really good events throughout the next few months. So look forward to listening and learning, Elisa. Over to you.
Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you, Simona. Thanks, Women in Travel, for the invitation. I'm thrilled to be here. And I will start sharing my screen. Simona, fine? Yeah, I will. And thanks, Simona, for the support with the tech. Hi, everyone. And here we go. So we have a lot to cover. So please grab your notepad as well, because now and then I will ask you to be with me. And let me see if I can move this up. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Okay, well, so this is our session today. And so who is Elisa? I started with a globe next to my bedside. And from there, I went to discover the real world and started from Brazil. And then I traveled many countries so far with a lot of luggage, sometimes too heavy, to be honest. I'm working on it. But this is me. I'm a community connector and storyteller. I connect people through stories that empower, stories that liberate, stories that transform both the listener and the storyteller. So I help community-based tourism project, but also local tour operator and DMC to unveil their stories, and by focusing on their people, their value, and their positive impact. So as you can see from some of the my marketing collateral that I help create, my mission is to bring the people to the center of the picture. So I'm a conscious writer. I collaborate as a content creator and contributor with many platforms, talking about sustainable and responsible travel. It's been a while. I'm a professional ambassador recognized and contributed in a lot of paper, university paper, but also industry paper. And I'm a storytelling coach, also been for the Tour Guide Academy for the Women in Travel, and also for British Council in Brazil and others. I'm a recognized community-based tourism global expert, and I've been invited to share my view and experience with community-based tourism around the world. Some feedback from my client, you can read it with the Times. These some of the company I work with, and others I couldn't fit in the page, but they are still there and updating and growing. So where are we going today? So this is the roadmap for today. We're gonna have 3 main stops. The first will be the intro. Is about, so the iceberg, as you can see it, the blue dot, is about revelation. So looking under the surface, just looking for this one. So and then there's going to be the full immersion with the glasses. And it's about an nitty-gritty, the real reason why you're here, storytelling and travel marketing, the time to reflect would be the third point, where we got a mirror there, is about discovering what is there, what we can see there. So let's start with our iceberg. I would like to ask you a question, just quickly in the chat, or maybe unmute yourself. What's the first story you ever remember? Just quickly, do you remember? What is the first story that you remember you heard? Why I'm asking you that, and can't see the chart there, but while you're answering those, I think I hear. Yeah, okay, I see the Jackie, the 3 beers. Why? Yeah, well, I remember Ansel Gretel, but others too. So why I'm asking this, because we are made of stories, right? The stories are what we made of, but also because we are living stories, right? Through stories we learn, we grow, we connect. Also, tourism has a special relation with stories, because I'm, easily can say that without storytelling, tourism wouldn't exist. And I think this is pretty clear to everyone. Now, I heard a story that once Columbus discovered a new continent, called the Americas, but I wonder what indigenous people that were living there for thousands of years that thought about that story, right? Why I'm mentioning Columbus? Because the point is everything starts with a story, right? Sometimes even bad stories start with a story. Everything is about perspective, is about what is in that story, right? Now, in the same way that Columbus discovered America, I see that everyone nowadays is talking about storytelling, especially in tourism industry. I mean, talking about from this our perspective. So tourism industry is like, it looks like he discovered storytelling, but to be honest, it's not a new thing, right? And if we look at what we've just gone through, it's kind of understandable why the story became so important, right? Stories connect. Of course, we're all talking about storytelling, but storytelling is not something new. Well, in fact, it's always been there. Why? Because stories are, our brain are hardwired for stories. So the way our brain understands reality is about stories. And this has been for 15,000 years. So I would say that our genetics now is like our brain function is in a way that stories is the way we learn. So for us, really important. So there's been a lot of science about this. It's been like at least 30 years exploring this connection strongly. Now, but what is a story? Well, I can start talking about different things, but basically there is a structure to a story. Every story has a beginning, middle, and an end. But there are other way of interpreting a story called like the 5 act, like in this one. These apply to written stories, but also to cinema, like different kind of stories anyway. But I like to use the hero's journey, to be honest, is something that as an image, and I like it the most because I'm a visual person. And I believe that kind of in a very brief way, he synthesized what is a story. And Campbell, as you can see, he was an anthropologist, and he studied the stories of human civilizations since ever, and he found a pattern. So there is always, that can be reconciled in this image. There is a cycle in every story. There is someone that start a story in his place, in his world, and then something happened to him that he put him into an unknown, and here everything's happened. Almost died, probably more than once, but also got helpers, mentor along the way. There is a moment of relation, and then this moment of transformation. A lot of things happened, and he faces his devils inside in his head, also outside, and then he returned home. When he returned home, he's not himself anymore. He's a new person. So this is the story. This is the hero's journey. The hero can be anyone, but this is what a story is about. It's about something that, so I'm gonna highlight some element of a good story, because yes, I do believe that bad stories exist, and that's why I use this good and bad story, because the good story has a structure, and then the example I just give you is one of it. The good story as a language, as emotion, as action, and change is a really important element in this, as conflict, another very important element, and curiosities is all part of what makes a good story. We're going to get deeper in that. We still are in the iceberg. So, but why the stories are actually good stories? Because they create connection, because they engage, they become memorable. So people are excited about it. So because they recognize themselves in it, and there is an engagement through the emotions, and in some way are memorable. Now, this is because our brains are done in a way that we learn through stories. For us, like kind of, we recognize automatically what is a good or bad story, basically. Now, what's your story? I ask you this because I actually have 2 questions for you. I don't want you to answer right now, but I want to keep it in the back of your mind and then maybe answer later when you have time. Do you tell your story as a company? I mean, of course, in this contest, we're talking about professional stories, but so do you think that your story also is reflected well enough in your brand image? So is your story present in the way you present yourself in your marketing? But as a suggestion, overall, I would say always start from your roots, and we're gonna go back that again. But now it's time to move to the second point. Is the one actually is one the thick one, is the glasses. We're gonna wear glasses now. I wanted to quickly scan your phone here, and I want to see how do you answer to this question. What do you think we can use storytelling? How, when we can use storytelling in marketing? 1 word, 2 word, 3 words, you have options there. We should see the result alive while you writing them. No many, but please, guys, if you're there. If not, I will start. Idea, how can we use storytelling? What are the moment and we can use storytelling in our marketing? What do you think? You can also unmute yourself if you want, because I can't see. I don't know if it's a techie issue, but I can't see any responses on the cloud that should supposed to form here, but doesn't matter.
You can use it perhaps in through different mediums like social media, and that way you've got different ways of telling your story through images or video or things like that.
Yes, great. You're talking about a medium, great. So how, in the medium as a marketing, what are you going to use the storytelling for rather than when? When I say when, so maybe it was misunderstood. I meant to do what?
Well, to convey a message and to give value to what it is you're perhaps selling, and to give kind of what I would use it for is to kind of give a background and more substance to what it is that I'm presenting to my market or audience.
Okay, what do you do, Nicola, just to understand the background as well?
I'm in representation, so
Okay.
we represent about 25 lodges all over South America and Costa Rica, and all of those lodges we work with very closely, and they all have their own stories and histories. So actually, it's important to try and get those stories and to give them over precisely and concisely to our markets.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So just as you also start mentioning, so yes, we can use it in sales. We can use it in brand awareness, customer retention. We can use it to promote new product or revamp or old ones, but also to access new market. I will say there is more to this. We can use also storytelling to tell our sustainability journey. We can use it to share our positive impact on the destination we are present. We can talk about the climate change resiliency that we support in the destination, or the way we, creating the response, let's say, but also about social innovation. So there are a lot of ways, because at the end of the day, I would say is that all the time, everywhere, because marketing is simply a way that you present yourself, but you can present yourself and what you believe in while you're selling the product, while you are making a relation and creating bond with your customers, right? So talking about the pillars of storytelling, I'm gonna go through this in details, of though the time is really limited, but I will go through them so we can give you some idea what are the pillars of storytelling. I will start with to use the senses, but all of them. We know we have our vision is the main senses, overused and abused sometimes, but we have others. Someone said that we have even 5 more than this. So, but if you stick to the 5, we have 4 more to explore. So with this, what means, for example, when you are presenting a product, look at what you have, look at how you present your product usually. And if you realize that you're just telling what people will see, this is very limited. There is a lot more to that. So the story can explore, and we're going to see that later. But for now, I want to give us the pillar just to have a look at, okay, yeah, there are senses, no 1, 5. So more way of telling stories. use your uniqueness. Now, in business, we always talk about USP, but what this means, meaning that this has to come into your story. So you have to talk about what you do differently from the others. This is a content of your story. So talk about your uniqueness, bring the emotions in, because these are the one that bonds. These are the one that people connect with people and create that that make them so the bond to make them relatable, right? So important to bring the emotion, make it real. And here is you had to start, excuse me, but I brought women here because I work a lot with women on the ground, and only because, you know, we here with women in travel, but also working in my niche, which is community-based tourism. Women are at the center of everything, be at the center of the community, and be at the center of the activity. So when you talk about something, talk about who's done that thing, who's provided service, give a face, make it more real, more tangible as well, in the way you're describing it, in the way, you know, bring the protagonist on spot. This is a good way. And here I want to give, you know, a small space to the women that are always behind the scenes. And the other one, the last one I put an asterisk there because, yeah, you can bring humor to your stories, but only if it feels natural to you. If you enjoy it, great. Otherwise, you will look silly, and it will feel silly as well. So don't do it if you don't feel is your thing. And the one, my favorite one. What do you think is? Can you guess what is the golden rule? The icons I put here. You can unmute yourself if it's easier. What is the golden rule here? Is it easy? I'll tell you in a sec. Okay. No guess. Good. So it's show, don't tell. So imagine I'm saying, right, this is a remote and special place. And then I show you this picture. Well, wait, of course, you say, wow, this is a picture. But in the same way, a picture brings you more than 1,000 words. Use your language in a more descriptive way. So less adjective like beautiful, charming, special. Tell me why the place is beautiful. How is charming? What is special about it without using those words? Because those words are empty, to be honest. And I want to do an exercise with you. Can you tell me briefly, can you describe briefly to me the word beautiful? In a chat, please. Very briefly. What is beautiful to you? In your participation. Guys, if you can switch your camera on, it will make me feel less alone here. Nicola, attractiveness, interesting. Something pleasant to look at. Okay, thank you, Palumi. Anything else? What is beautiful? Very positive connotation. It sounds colorful and exciting. I love that, Saskia. Thank you. Something unique, interesting. You see, oh, pleasing to the eyes. Thanks, Jackie. Now, just looking at this view, there is no one as much in the other, right? Completely. Beautiful means everything and a lot of things to different people. And if we start going into different cultural context, another world opens. So this is what means that when I communicate and using this word, is empty because it can mean anything to anyone. So don't use it. Tell me why is beautiful, right? Rather than is beautiful. Now I want to move to another thing now. I wanted to remind you that every time you are telling a story, you are building a bridge. Look at these beautiful moon bridges are called in China. They're spectacular, but is a bridge. Why? So look for a second at the concept in the chart. In the slide, these 4 concepts and the relationship within them. Now, I try to put them in a context and like in a relationship. Now, we have a content, right? I use content, the concept content here to refer to the idea of what I want to tell and I want to say to the audience, okay? Of course, we have different audience. Usually, we're more than once. And every message needs to be shaped to the specific audience. We know this, right? Now, what the content is defined by is the goal. What is the goal? The goal is the most important thing, is the objective. What I want to do with that message. Do I want to inform? Do I want to entertain? Do I want to surprise? Because if I don't have that clear, well, my message goes out to different audience, but who knows what get there, right? So you don't have control of that. So think that the goal is your why you're writing that precise message, post, or email. And I want to borrow quickly The Golden Circle from Simon Sinek. I don't know if you don't know it, please go and look for it. His book, Start with the Why, is brilliant, even though it was done a long time ago, it's still very relevant. So this is, of course, he used it and created in relation to leadership, but I want to borrow it because I think it's really, really important. The why of your message is what needs to be at the center. Simon say, everyone is focusing on what are doing. Some of them, they're focusing on how they're doing. Very few focus on why they're doing. My point to you is, the message to you is, focus on why you're doing things. In this case, why you're thinking about your story, why you are writing the message, what do you want to achieve? Why first? So, and wear a brand new pair of glasses. We are on the stop of the glasses, right? But wear those glasses with new glasses and feel cool in the glasses. And while you're feeling cool, you also, there are good things of having a good glasses, right? Beyond looking cool, you can also have a different perspective on things around you, including the story that you share, right? And what this means. Let's give you two hypothetical scenarios, right? You have you need new digital marketing content. And the second scenario, you need to present new products or services, or to boost the visibility of old ones, okay? Now, imagine the first scenario for now. You need new content. Now, my suggestion, my technique is like, and I'm a photographer. I mean, I love photography. Photography is a big word. I love taking pictures, and you'll see a lot of metaphor relating to cameras. So think about who is holding the camera when you're writing this content. You can have a perspective, which is internal or external. So I'm going to write in the content from an internal perspective, meaning it's about me, it's about my destination, it's about my company, right? But the thing changes if I actually looking at the guest as who was holding the camera. What this actually means. Did I jump one? Oh, yes, I did. Sorry. Right. Example. If I'm assuming an internal perspective, so new content about myself, myself meaning my stuff, my local community, my unique cultural celebration of the region I'm located in, the special event, the special date. This is like I'm sharing story about all this, right? What the guest knows, what he doesn't know, what he wants, what he needs, what would love to know, or what would love to do, or what would fear, and what are they concerned, why I need to know this, why I want to use this as a way to create content. Because first of all, where do I find this information, right? You can find it in your feedback form, in the question that you ask, or the question they ask you, or even on social media in a review, you can find anywhere. If you know what a guest is afraid of, you can create content to prevent him to be creating having those fear. So it's kind of reassuring them before, for example, we can bring other senses in a way. So reviewing the way we describe and present what we do from a different angle, using different senses, and using curiosity. What I mean, think about to present part of your itinerary in chunks, so that, creating kind of a linkage between one or the other, creating kind of a little story within the story, to create a series of posts, or create a series of stories that are linked to the same new itinerary, for example. Now, any questions so far? No. If you have, drop in the chat, we're gonna talk about them later, unless you have something that you like, you really want to ask right now. We're gonna go. So I wanted to ask you, what do you see here? a necklace, right? It's not a tricky question. It's a necklace, right? It is. But at the same time, if you imagine that this string of pearls represent your destination, right? What I can see is a precious story of a local artisan that works the wood using a traditional technique that only exists here. But also I can see the forest where the wood come from, the home of colorful and rare birds and with fancy names. These birds are the protagonists, the local legend told to the children why they grow up, and also during specific celebrations. Like the one in honor of the patron saint who protect the family, and it's celebrated with music and a delicious dish made of, you got the idea, right? So this is, well, this is your destination, but the method of the string of pearls that I named after my martial art training as a Tai Chi teacher and student, but that's another story. This method can be used also to present various aspects of the operation of your company. So thinking about that, what you look as one reality is made of little stories, and these stories can become the content of a series of posts that you create on your. So they are linked, but these allow you to link to different places, people, and activities. So this is one method that I would like to share with you. The other one, of course, is the zoom in technique that I like to take from my photography passion. So get closer than usual to a single detail of your local culture or biodiversity, and get closer and closer and watch carefully. What can you see that you haven't seen before? Just watch, and you will discover other perspective. You will discover things that you might feel minor to you, but is that they are a universe in itself. And of course, the listening part, because this happened to everyone. When you live in a place and every place become familiar to you, you take everything for granted, and so you lose the kind of the detail. So is a kind of putting yourself in the place of a stranger, if you like, sometimes, right? And this is very rich because it gives you a lot of opportunity to write new story or give new vibe and new tone to things that for you were obvious, but I'm not for the visitors, right? So sometimes we have to abstract ourselves and put ourselves in that other space. So this is another way of I'm very happy to share this, because I've also used this for Women in Travel, the tour guiding academy, and this is the same map of stories tool that I use with Vaishali when she launched who launched the tour in India. And please, if you haven't been, ask Simona to give you some details, because it's an amazing way to discover India, or the Indias that exist in London. And it's an urban tour, fantastic. But this is a tool that I use with her, and I want just to share that with you, that she was overwhelmed when we started working on this, because she realized she has a lot of stories in front of her. This is an overlapping of two different maps, the self map and the city map. But this is an example because we're working in an urban environment in that case, so it's very specific. But she was overwhelmed. She was about to give up, to be honest. Thanks, she didn't. We went through that, because you look at this as a toolbox, right? There are people that don't even have all these stories. They have no idea they have stories. When you come up, and maybe some of you have a lot of stories, but you can't make sense of it because I have too many. Look at this as a toolbox, right? Once you reach this point, that is the moment that you can create different tour, for example, in the case of Vaishali or the other women of the Tour Guiding Academy, but also itinerary, experiences, etc., services. So this is, as I said, this is specific for a specific object, but I want to share because it's another tool where how can you create new content? How can you get it? Where you can get inspiration from? Now, there is a bonus. The bonus is, of course, the style. How you can tell the story. You can tell the story in deep length, like usually the story I tell are about 2,000 words. There's story and like little books, but there are a lot of ways of telling stories. Sometimes I love sharing short and sweet story on post. because they provide a different style, they have a different energy in that. And it's good to think that you can play with this. You can talk about the same content in different ways. And so is multiplying the way you can create content. Of course, there is a light and fun, but also the full passion, the way I use it, the Sicilian way, in order to my blood. So the one that you really are passionate about, that specific, and you bring all your emotion and all the protagonist emotion in the picture. Now, there is another part before we move into the other part of the roadmap. There is storytelling and social innovation, something very close to my heart, very important. I wanted to ask you, what do you think these two concepts have in common? So the social innovation and storytelling. Any idea? Well, social innovation, what is social innovation? Is a way of doing the thing we usually do, but in a new way. And it's sometimes called social engineering. But the only reason I bring this up is because one way you're looking at it is about inclusion. And yes, we here working with women in travel, and also because it's someone I work with my niche. Gender equality is one way of looking at inclusion, but I put into the equation also the indigenous people, because when we talk about inclusion, we talk about including the diversity, diverse mobility, diverse ability, neurodiversity into the picture. And why I mentioned that, because the inclusion of other narratives and the others' narrative is fundamental to storytelling and the powerful tool that actually storytelling is. I will suggest very early to watch this TED Talks. I can share the link later in the chat of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, is The Danger of a Single Story. She's a Nigerian, and
I was just thinking about it, Elisa.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Yeah, she's amazing. She's brilliant. So yes, this is the reason why I do what I do. I do community storytelling because we need more stories. We need more narratives into the picture. Why? And I started with this 4 years ago when I started working with community storytelling. I started from these questions, and I put a question mark before for a reason, because are important questions. What story do we tell in tourism? Who are the storytellers? And who do we tell those stories to? And here's missing, looks like it's missing an important question, right? The why question, but actually it's not missing because it's embedded in it. Because if you think of who is telling the story, you also know why it's telling. If it's one narrative, is it the dominant narrative, the white male narrative? So we need to question ourselves. Can we bring more stories into the picture? Yes, we do. Is our responsibility, I would say. And here where the social innovation come from. Yes, Alessandro.
So sorry, Elisa. It's because we've got about 5 minutes, first of all.
Sure. Yeah,
And
no
I
problem.
want to, but also I was thinking, shouldn't we also add here whose stories are we telling? Or
yes,
is that
when I mentioned who are the storytellers, the perspective, the meaning is, when I tell a story, I'm telling my story and the story of my community, so is embedded in that, but is really relevant. Thanks, Alessandro. So I suppose that when I tell a story, I tell my story in a way and another. So more stories, more storytellers we have, more narratives are in the picture. So, and yeah, Maya Angelou this is a quote from her, but if you don't know her, read her. She was an amazing inspiration for Black American civil rights, really important. And she's the one that she wasn't sure she should share a story with the world, and I'm glad she did. So we are going to the last part of our exercise, our roadmap, and I want you to focus on the questions, because people say they learn a lot from me because I asked the right question. But when I was writing my first master's dissertation in Italy, I realized that, you can cite a dissertation with a lot of questions, but not all of them are relevant, right? So we have to ask the right question. And I want you to take time to do a self-reflection time. I'm not sure if you have that much time now, but I would like to take a deep breath and take a couple of minutes to answer the next 2 questions. Just even if you scrabbled at some concept, you can get back to that. And the questions are, what kind of stories do I want to tell? and why? And linked to that, you can add it, what other stories could I start telling? So you take this as a beginning, because you can continue answering this question later, and you might want to share that in the community, or later with us and with me. So I hope you have some takeaways from this session today. Very brief, very tight, but I hope you had some. I have some, but I would like to know what you have. Do you have any takeaways from this session? Do you have one word that you can share that you learned, you're going to take away with you today? One word or one thing, one concept. You can unmute yourself quickly if you like.
So I was just going to say that obviously my takeaway was that making the story authentic and making the story relatable as well was like one of the main things that I took away.
How do you want to do that? Any idea?
By the person telling the story kind of going from an angle of like personability, like knowing all avenues of like what they're trying to tell. So it's not like, let's say for example, someone going to a country that they're not from or don't have any ties to. Is someone that actually has a connection to the actual story, is obviously really key in the reader really understanding what they're trying to illustrate.
Thanks for that. I hope that you all have at least a takeaway from this session. I have 3. I got an iceberg, I got glasses, and I got a mirror. And I would like to remind you the power of each one of them and the way they help you to look at what you do and what you are in terms of identity, in terms of mission, value, and how can you share all that with the rest of the world. So I got 2 presents for you today. I can share this with more later with you, but I have a masterclass coming on the 23rd of April. Only places are limited, and you have the preview. I haven't shared this yet, so you can use this code to reserve your place and be one of the 15 people before they run out, and also use the 20% off that I reserve for women in travel. And I got more details about this, but we're going to work on the specific material for tour operators and DMC, unpack the strategies and the technique that I give you here, do more example, a group activity, one-to-one feedback as well, and learn more about community storytelling as well. So also there is a one-to-one session, limited availability because I'm about to travel. So you got 20% off on that 30-minute section or 60-minute session. I can share all this information. You can see your calendar. And if you like to use this opportunity, you can get your slides. Please send me an email today, but you had to write on the subject, happy birthday, because yes, it's my birthday today. And that's why I was so generous with all the presents.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Lisa.
No, you didn't tell us.
Well, it was a surprise, only
Oh,
Simona.
wonderful.
Fine. So if you write that in the subject, I know that actually you were here, so I didn't share with others. So this is to get your slides. And if you want the portfolio of my services, the link I'm going to send in the chat. Feedback 2 minutes. I need to hear what you think and if you like it. And tell me, yes or no. Would you write more stories after today's session? I want a commitment. Will you write more stories? Yes. Fantastic. These are my contact, and remember that we are all storytellers, and nourish those connections, because we live in a network of stories. Yeah, so nourish those connections, nourish the powerful tool of storytelling. So make this connection even stronger with storytelling. So thank you very much. And before I leave, I got some Q&A. If you have a question for me, please. I keep it the 45 minutes.
Can I just say thank you, Elisa, and to make sure that you share the links for the masterclass?
I'm sharing I'm sharing some link here. I got the link for the masterclass. For now, you can use you can use my email. Let me share everything, even some material that I was it? Group chat. Here we go. These are the feedback form, the TED Talk, my email, my LinkedIn, my portfolio. And if you want for the masterclass, since it's not yet